I never have more than one drink before dinner, but I do like that one to be large and very strong and very cold and very well made. I hate small portions of anything. Today on How to Drink, the Vesper Martini, favorite of 007, and since we're talking about security, also a holiday offer from Simply Safe. Today on How to Drink, we're talking about James Bond, 007, Ian Fleming, the man with a license to kill, and his favorite, supposedly, drink, the Vesper Martini. So the Vesper Martini is this staple of 007 mythology and a favorite of both fans of the character and, I guess, dudes who would like to be associated with the character. But is it really a good drink? Because on this very channel, I have said it isn't when I made it previously. And we're going to do it again today and find out for sure. Ian Fleming thought so much of this drink that he only included it in a single 007 novel, Casino Royale. And, you know, the scene where Bond is ordering this drink, he's kind of like intentionally trying to make a scene of himself. He's a statement.
Wait. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of Kina Lillet, shake it over rice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
Yes, sir.
It might be the kind of thing this character was just thrown together on the spot to sort of steal focus and make sure that all eyes were on him. It's a tough nut to crack because on the face of it, it breaks all these cocktail rules. You know, what's the flavorless vodka doing in there? Why? Why is this drink shaken despite containing no juices, no egg whites, no booze, nothing but booze? What is Kina Lillet? That's a point I'm actually going to come back to in a minute, but let's start with the whole shaking thing. Typically, a cocktail is going to be shaken if it's got fruit juices or egg whites or any ingredients that are going to benefit from heavy aeration, or at the very least won't be ruined by heavy aeration. So when you've got a drink like a martini, for example, you're talking about a suite of optically clear liquid ingredients, and if you shake that drink, you're going to introduce all these little air bubbles that are going to make the drink clouded when they become suspended in the drink, and that ruins your potential for a crystalline, perfectly beautiful cocktail, right? It doesn't really affect the flavor of the drink, or at least it shouldn't. It's just kind of considered to be like bad form, old man. There's also the question of bruising the gin. Happily, this artful phrase is largely gone from the vernacular.
Stir, never shake, bruises the gin.
I've had it explained to me once that, so gin's got a lot of compounds in it that are gonna oxidize and bind to oxygen. If you jostle it too much, you're gonna hasten that, you will increase the bitterness, and that is bruised gin. As far as I've researched, there's no evidence for this, and it also, it's like, you know, we ship it in trucks, right? Like, that's all. I don't know, it just seems like, yeah, I don't know about that. I could do a side-by-side taste test for you of shaken versus unshaken gin. It just seems really, really unscientific because I can't control for the subjectivity of my own tasting there. I think to do anything meaningful, I would need like an alpha proton electron spectrometer or something. There was a study done on this subject by the Department of Chemistry at the University of Western Ontario. What they found was that shaken martinis were actually better at deactivating hydrogen peroxide than stirred martinis, and they did this study by introducing the shaken cocktails into a luminescent assay that had luminol in it, and then measuring the results. The shaken martinis left the peroxide 0.072% active, while the stirred ones left it 0.157% active, a result that seems to me to be significant only in a laboratory setting. I've also been told that bruising the gin is that act of introducing air bubbles that cloud up otherwise crystal clear gin. It becomes less visually appealing, it looks bruised. I don't really know the true etymology. Anyway, so why does Bond order his... Oh, I do know one other thing too about shaken drinks. So in The Thin Man, and I think this is in the book as well as the movie, we see Nick Charles explaining to some compatriots that, like, you shake a Manhattan to a two-step. You shake a martini to a foxtrot, you know.
Dry Martini, you always shake to Walston.
And he's listing a bunch of drinks that are not to be shaken. But, you know, we now think, in the land of the cocktail revival, we think of shaking a drink as really throttling the living hell out of it. But if you have a shaker, and you don't have a mixing glass, and you put some ice in the drink in there, and you just kind of, you know, you're shaking the drink, but I mean, that's not really shake. That's a stir. Or even if I went, you know, something like this, like what he does in that film. That movie was made in the 30s, the book was written in the 20s. It is contemporary to Prohibition, actually, to when, before all of this knowledge was lost about cocktails, right? So I don't know. I think that there's an argument to be made that Harry Craddock, in his the Savoy Bar Manual, he calls for shaking every drink. But I don't think that they really describe the technique of shaking. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that shake it like this. I mean, it could be just, you know, man in a white jacket, like, Yes, your martini is ready. That's something to think about. Maybe that's what they mean. Especially if you look at like those old martini pitchers. This is almost one of them. But they're usually glass. They have like a foot and then like that little unscrew pour spout and a handle. I've heard those called martini shakers. I mean, you can jostle a drink in it, right? And then pour. So then why, if you're not supposed to order a martini shaken, well, why does Bond order his shaken? Well, according to Ian Fleming's biographer, Andrew Lysette, Fleming just liked his drink shaken. He thought it tasted better than stirred ones, and that's it. There's Vesper apologists, as I call them. They're going to tell you that, well, if you shake the drink, you will oxidize or separate or otherwise impede the effects of common spycraft poisons of the day. That's no, I don't think so. Or that it has to do with breaking down the oils that would have been found in potato-based vodka of that time. Or also perhaps the oils that you find in vermouth at that time. Or also maybe even the oils that were in the Kina Lillet. You gotta break them down. We gotta find those oils and break them down. I don't think that any of that holds any kind of water at all. It kind of sounds like crap. There are still more Vesper apologists. People really just want this drink to be great. And they're gonna tell you that the shaken drink is more diluted than the stirred drink. And thus, this helps Bond keep his wits about him while appearing drunk. I mean, oh my God, this is insane. It's just nuts. Look, the drink has the same amount of alcohol in it either way, right? Unless the minute difference in water content between a shaken and a stirred drink is going to cause Bond to take 2 hours to finish his cocktail instead of 1 hour. It's going to have zero effect on his overall level of inebriation. And by the way, I don't think Bond ever took an hour to finish anything. He's like a 2-minute man. He really likes to knock them back. I seriously doubt the difference between shaking and stirring here is going to make any kind of a difference at all in Bond's overall continuous level of inebriation. As to Kina Lillet, you may be familiar with Lillet Blanc, and maybe you would reach for that here if you were making this drink, but that would be kind of a mistake because Kina Lillet was another product from Lillet which contained quinine, like you find in tonic water. They don't really make Kina Lillet anymore, and I don't know why. I also know that they claim that Lillet Blanc is the same as Kina Lillet, and I don't know why they do that either, because it's not. It's very weird. Fortunately, you've got two options to go with here instead, and neither one will require you to make your own Kina or deal with a Cinchinoa bark infusion or anything like that. You could go with Cocchi Americano, long considered to be a perfectly acceptable replacement for the missing Kina Lillet, or Kina Lillet Dior, which, as I understand it, is meant to really be a direct one-to-one substitution for Kina Lillet. We're going to try both today in Vespers, so don't worry, we'll get to the bottom of this. We're going to get to the bottom of it today. As to the vodka of the day would have likely been Stoli 100 proof, which I cannot get, actually. I've searched my area. I can't get any 100 proof vodka. My bet is that there is simply no market for a less stepped-on product in the vodka game. And given that profit margins are going to be larger on an 80 proof vodka, that's what they sell. And if the law let them sell a 60 proof vodka, that's what they would sell. The gin, according to Bond, should be Gordon's. And that's simple enough. Easy peasy. So here is my plan, and it might be a bit crazy. I am going to build this drink 4 ways at the same time because I don't yet know if I prefer Cocchi or Kina Lillet. And then I also think there's a legitimate question as to whether or not this drink is going to be better shaken or stirred. I think stirred is going to be the preferred drink, but then again, maybe Ian Fleming really was onto something when he described that one drink, that one time, and no one ever forgot. Who knows? Who knows? It could be. I'm not going to mess around with the drink's ratios here because he's very clear on that, and that the ratios are what the drink is, so to speak. But that shaken versus stirred thing, that's really down to the mechanics, and I think that that's questionable. And certainly, when I did this drink previously and got in trouble over it, I stirred it because you stir martinis, and people were like, you made it wrong, bro. So fine, we'll do it both ways. We'll see it both ways. So let's get into trouble with this drink over all 4 of these drinks. But first, have you thought about your security lately? With the holidays approaching, Simply Safe is in the spirit, and they're feeling generous, so they sponsored this episode, and they asked me to tell you about a special offer they're running, which is 30% off and a free HD camera with the purchase of a new system. So thank you, Simply Safe. If you've been thinking about a home security system, Simply Safe is super effective and easy to set up. It's easy to order online, they deliver it directly to your home, and you can have it up and running in under an hour. You can customize your system with all kinds of cool sensors for motion or window breaks, water leaks, temperature, HD cameras, etc. And you can get round-the-clock active monitoring for as little as 50 cents a day. Like everybody, I've got things I want to keep tabs on, protect, know where they're at, make sure they're safe. And Simply Safe made setting up the sensors and cameras and base station super easy.
Simply save on. Home.
And just to be sure, I tested everything. It works great. In a real bar breach scenario, Simply Safe would have called for help on my behalf right there. So what are you waiting for? Visit simplysafe.com/howtodrink to get 30% off your system plus a free HD camera. Okay, back to the show and the Vesper Martini. So here we go. We're gonna set up a 4-way drink matrix. We're gonna need Cocchi Americano. We're going to need Kina Lillet Dior. And then we're going to need 2 mixing glasses and 2 shakers. So if we do this the right way, right, what we'll end up with is a 4-way matrix, right? We'll have Kina up front with shaken and stirred, what am I doing here? I see. That's how you do a matrix. Got it. Okay, so what we'll end up with is Kina in the top left corner, stirred, Cocchi in the bottom left corner, stirred, okay? And then Kina shaken, Cocchi shaken. Got it? Let's go like this, right? So this is how our matrix works. We're gonna take my shaker, my jigger, and in a little tin, 1/4 ounce of Cocchi. And now Tempest Fugit, which has some sediments. Let's shake that up. I'll make sure we get all that quinine off the bottom. This is like a very natural thing. And now 1/4 ounce of this. There we go. All right. And then the rest is universal. Each one of these is going to get 1/2 ounce of our vodka. Remember, we're going with that ratio from the cold open of this episode. 3 measures of gin, 1 measure, and 1/2 measure, right? So here we go. This gets 1/2 ounce of vodka. This gets 1/2 ounce of vodka. This gets 1/2 ounce of vodka. And this gets 1/2 ounce of vodka. This is a weird way to work. There we go. It's a tricky reach. Let's try to be a little more careful there, Greg. I always like that Stolichnaya says, Alpha Grid. Alpha Grade. Okay. And now we want 1.5 ounces of Gordon's gin in each. So there's some question about the order I should finish these in, but I think to preserve the shakenness of the shook ones and taste them as close to directly out of the tin as possible, I'm gonna do the 2 stirred drinks first, and I'm gonna crack some ice into each of them and stir thoroughly. So this is Cocchi stirred, and I always just go until the ice is starting to loosen and my finger starts to get a little cold on the glass. These are kind of the wrong glass, but that's okay. The glass I wanted, I only had 3 of. So it's an 86 gram pour. Okay, so there is Kina, Cocchi, stirred. We'll do Kina and Cocchi shaken. I'm really curious because both of those came out to about 85 grams, 85, 86. So let's see how much more water there is in these, right? Martini 1. This is shaken with Cocchi, 90 grams of drink. So, I mean, minimal, right? Minimal. Shaken Cocchi. And now let's do shaken Kina. This one's considerably more. This is 102 grams right now. That one kind of froze up on me. That was the reason why. That's a 10 gram swing. That's pretty big. I'm a little bit surprised by that. And actually 20 from down there, so considerably more drink. 20 grams, that's like adding, it's 20 milliliters of water, really. So, okay, all right. Still not enough to make a difference in how drunk you're gonna get, though. All right, well, let's get these garnishes in here because they all get a lemon twist. And let's do the fun part. I love that smell. This is my favorite smell. Great. Woo! There we are. 4 martinis, 4 Vespers. Shaken with Kina, stirred with Kina. Shaken with Cocchi, stirred with Cocchi. Now, here's the thing. You can see the difference visually between the shaken and the stirred immediately. You can see the bruised gin, right? In the movies, even though he orders them shaken, they always look like this, don't they? Isn't it an interesting thing, right? Well, I think for starters, I don't know how the right way to do this. I think we can do Kina stirred versus Cocchi stirred. Kina, Cocchi. It's not bad. The quinine comes in late. It leads with a kind of, is sweet the right word? It has a very smooth approach. Maybe this is a gin martini for somebody who doesn't really like gin very much. Yeah, that's interesting. Let me try that one more time. Hold on a second. Great nose. I love a lemon twist on a cocktail. It just smells wonderful. Cold, but not extremely cold. Kind of a muted, smooth approach. Does the gin show up? Yeah, you get muted gin. And a little bit of that Cocchi bitterness. So, okay. Here we are, or I'm sorry, Kina. Sorry, Kina. Which I think Kina's a little sweet, actually. I should say that as well. This one is, I said it on my first go, and I'm saying it again now. There is like a kind of sweetness here, but it's very subtle. This is with the Cocchi. Much sharper. This one is much more, well, there's like, I think this is drier. I think it's less sweetness, maybe, is what it is that I'm detecting. Similar smooth, kind of muted gin kind of approach. Less bitterness? I think so. I think the Cocchi comes through less bitter than the Kina. What do I like better? That's a good question. Cocchi, a little bit of orange at the very end of that. Just a hint. It's not as good as like a regular martini, to be honest. I think I like the Kina better. It's close though. It's really tough to pick. So let's go for the Kina shaken. See how much difference this is. I don't know, the extra coldness is not without its merits in this case. This also has like that thing that a lot of shaken martini people like. They like that sheen of ice across the top. Some people like that. I'm not a huge fan typically, but it's tough because now my palate's a wreck. I would say you taste the gin even less. And now what you get is really kind of lemon and almost like a lemon and tonic kind of thing with the gin almost invisible. And the vodka, of course, tastes like nothing in this case. Yeah, maybe it's just a martini for a guy who hates gin. And basically the same with an added orange note. Interesting. So I think for stirred, I like the Kina better, and for shaken, I like the Cocchi better because the orange note comes out, it survives the shaking better. And that just brings a little bit more character to the drink. But on the whole, it's kind of a letdown of a drink. It's not really my favorite drink. I'd prefer just a 2-to-1 ratio martini with a good vermouth and a couple of dashes of orange bitters. Even this, by the way, I think would be probably, this is just a little bit of Reagan's. I think all of these would probably be better with a dash or two of orange bitters tossed in them. Just a hunch, you know. Enormous change. Huge amount of, just so much more character, so much more flavor. The orange really comes through. And it doesn't mask anything else. It just fills the kind of void that is this drink. Because, I mean, honestly, a lot of this drink is like a blank sheet of paper. There's really not a lot of flavor to it at all, except for just this, like, this hint of lemon from the twist and a little bit of bitterness and, you know, mild sweetness. This one has a little bit of that orange, but yeah, on the whole, I think they're all better with a couple dashes of bitters. Yeah, just a nice way to improve the drink. If I have to pick a winner, I gotta say, I'm surprising myself. I did not expect to prefer the shaken, but on the whole, I do think that like the main feature of this drink is its coldness because it's got really little else going on. And then the shaken one had the coldness plus a hint of orange and with its bitterness, so it's just had a little bit more in it. The dilution thing, I mean, 20 milliliters of water is going to make a difference in the amount of dilution that's going on. It's one of the reasons, I think, in addition to coldness, that the shaken drinks have less powerful flavors than the stirred drinks. I mean, it's subtle because these are all pretty mute. But it's definitely not gonna make a difference. I mean, in any case, it's a glass. It's a tiny glass, right? Like, you're gonna drink this pretty quick. The tasting notes are minimal, but there's really not a lot. I mean, there's really not a lot going on in this drink. It's, oh God, now the fucking heat comes on. Well, the heat's on, so I'm just gonna yell over it because I'm wired into this bar and going to turn it off is a big pain in my butt. I think we invented a thing here today, the drink matrix. I think we could do more stuff with the drink matrix. I don't really know. Let me know if this is... Well, let me tell you this. Are there cocktails that you want to see? Do you like the drink matrix? Picking a winner on a 4 or 6-way matrix? And secondly, what drinks would you like to see me throw into the drink matrix? That's the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back very soon with another episode of How to Drink. You will find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/GregFromHTD, where I am live in the bar, making cocktails with you, hanging out with people, answering your questions, taking your calls on call-in shows. We're playing tabletop role-playing games like Cyberpunk on Tuesday nights, currently at 9 p.m. Eastern. That changes, so stay tuned. And doing all kinds of live things over there on Twitch. So check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/GregFromHTD. I am on Instagram at HowToDrink with a number in the middle of it. I am on Twitter at HowToDrink with a number in the middle of it. I'm on Patreon at patreon.com/HowToDrink. And a lot of times episodes have parts that don't make it to YouTube. They wind up over there. Oh, I have a second channel, H2D2. If you like live things, but you can't make your schedule work, you'll find the live stuff over there after the fact. I have a slight headache, so I kind of want to stop now. If you like my show, I gotta ask you, please, as a favor to me, subscribe, ring the bell, push the like button, leave a comment, say howdy do. But really, I've been making the show for about 5 years. More than 5 years. There's a lot of other episodes. Why don't you check out some of these other episodes of How to Drink? Certainly, if you enjoyed this, some of this will tickle your fancy. I just said tickle your fancy on the internet. That's not going to go well.